it feels so good.
I woke up to a cloudy and overcast sky after a stormy night. It was still quite early and the other two boys were still sleeping, so I decided to take a walk along the beach. The day before I had lost my flip-flops, which was a bummer since I only had a pair of Crocs left. To my surprise, I found both flip-flops together at the high tide line, covered in seagrass and water, but still in good condition. What were the chances of that?
Can't believe it. High tide mark. They are back. A bit wet and a bit water locked, but they are back.
I want to quickly talk about dingo safety on Gary or Fraser Island, because dingoes really have become a problem, or I should better say people have become a problem. And while dingoes are no dogs, I had over 30 years of American bulldogs, big dominant dogs, so I have a pretty good idea how the dog race behaves, even though the dingoes obviously have some different behavior from a normal domestic dog. However, dingoes by nature, and obviously you don't have just dingoes here on Fraser Island, we encounter frequently dingoes on our desert travel. I've been going to Fraser for around 11 or 12 years now. I did notice a big change in dingo behavior over the past years. And I also noticed a big change in people behavior towards dingoes. There were many occasions now we've been on Fraser here, saw people feeding dingoes, encourage them to come close, were lying down on the floor when dingoes were coming and sniffing them out. That is especially on the eastern beaches around Eli Creek and so on. The western beaches where we are here is a little bit less, and the dingoes still show a bit more of the normal dingo behavior. By nature, they're usually wary of people and they do not want to come close. But what happened here, you have a lot of people here, a lot of tourists, and often they think that is a domestic dog. So when you start encourage them, feeding them, and they are the apex predator here on the island, you just don't do their dingoes any favor, because they get used to humans. They come much closer than they usually would come. And I had now instances, actually with Scotty, my buddy here, where he did astrophotography at night, and I was sleeping, and he got bailed up by 3 dingoes. I had to jump also out of the tent, and the 2 of us, grown male men, chased the dingo eventually away. Over the past few years, we also have seen far more dingo attacks. There was just another one only last week where a kid got bitten on the eastern beaches.
What that means for us as visitors on Gary is that we have to be more mindful than ever. Here are some essential tips for staying safe around dingoes. Always carry a safety stick like an umbrella or hiking pole to deter dingoes. Never walk alone, especially at night. Always walk in groups. Keep all food and cooking items locked up securely. And don't think that hanging a rubbish bag higher up in a tree or on your awning is secure. Dispose of rubbish in locked containers or at fenced waste stations. Never feed or interact with dingoes. It can make them more aggressive. Maintain a safe distance of at least 20 meters from dingoes. Do not run if you see a dingo. Running can trigger their chasing instinct. Jogging on the beach when dingoes are around is probably not a good idea. Be aware that dingoes may be more aggressive during mating season from March to May. Always keep children within arm's reach. Do not encourage, call or entice dingoes to come close. And don't forget to report any aggressive dingo behavior to rangers immediately. For fishermen, secure fish and bait in sealed containers or your vehicle. Avoid leaving them in open beach buckets. Bury fish offal in a deep hole at least 50 centimeters below the high tide mark when no dingoes are around. Never leave scraps on the beach. It's also important to note that dingoes have plenty to eat on Fraser Island. They naturally look scrawny, similar to a greyhound, with a small chest. This may make them appear as if they are starving, but they are not. Their lean build is perfectly normal and suited to their lifestyle. By following these guidelines, we can help protect ourselves and the island's dingo population.
Kerry is still working on his electrical issues. It was overnight. Same thing happened with that fridge. The fridge was running, but is at 10 degrees now, which it really shouldn't be.
Especially on the west coast of Fraser Island, you can often see amazing wildlife just by watching from the shore. While the weather and sea were a bit rough for us to spot much from the beach, we did see some humpback whales cruising along. It's magnificent to witness these gentle giants in their natural habitat.
Something I purchased quite some time ago, carried it for a while, or carried it forever, and used it on quite a few occasions. I've got two actually, one in the wife's car. Kerry needs a jump starter, so it hasn't been charged for ages, so I hope it still has charge in. And that's a big one for the V8.
It should be enough to start.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to leave it for half a minute or so from memory.
So here at Woralie Creek, and I mean now I've got the rod on, I have one bar here. I could not get anything. I could make a call, but I couldn't even retrieve the weather. So I switched the rod 11 now on, and that gives me now a usable connection. I mean, it's not fast, but it does the job, and now I can actually get weather. And even, I mean, Facebook or YouTube or whatever. So that thing certainly does work. Takes a little while, you know, but I just actually retrieved the weather just before. Here it is. And before, impossible. Everything timed out.
Second day at Woralie Creek, going for a day drive just up to Coongule Creek. Have a look there because I've never actually been there. Low tide now, so yeah, pretty good. We're quite lucky. There was a guy here or camping next to us with a drone, and he had the drone out and saw a few whales. So he fortunately shared the footage with us, or with me. I could download that, so that was great. And now we're going to Coongule Creek. We're driving along the beach at Coongule Creek, heading past the camp spots. This spot is accessible primarily by high clearance 4-wheel drive at low tide or by boat via the Great Sandy Marine Park. The camping area allows for tent and camper trailer camping, but no caravans. There are no toilets, showers or picnic tables, and campfires are prohibited. Surrounded by coastal flora like Moreton Bay ash and black wattle, Coongule Creek offers a scenic backdrop with fresh water for swimming and fishing. The creek and nearby ocean provides excellent fishing spots, along with opportunities for kayaking and canoeing. Nature lovers can enjoy walks along the beach and through natural landscapes where wildlife such as dugongs may be spotted. It is a peaceful environment perfect for unwinding and connecting with nature. Be mindful of potential hazards like strong tides, wildlife interactions, especially dingoes, and the occasional great white in the water. And while we are talking about great white sharks, let me show you some incredible footage my friend Dave took on a joint trip to Fraser Island a few years ago. We camped at Awinia Creek on Fraser's west coast, just a bit north from where we are now. the guys from Mad Mullet Fishing caught this 9-foot great white shark from the beach. It was caught, measured and then released back into the ocean. So when swimming on the west or east coast, just keep in mind that you are a small fish in the ocean and there are apex predators cruising along these coastlines.
9 foot! 9 foot white! Humans are not really on the dinner menu for sharks, but sometimes you can get mistaken for a steak sandwich.
Scotty and I were both under the impression that you couldn't cross Coongule Creek, regardless of whether it was low or high tide. However, we wanted to check it out for ourselves. We went to the creek inlet, which is certainly one of the widest on Gary, and saw tire tracks coming out on the other side. There was also a group in front of us, and one of the guys crossed before us so we could have a good look, saving us from having to walk. While at low tide, the creek crossing isn't very deep. Quicksand can be an issue though. But after watching the other cars drive through it, we decided to give it a go, but we opted to cross at a different part of the river. We opted for a slightly different line which appeared a bit shallower for us. We now added to our knowledge bank that you can access the Coongule Creek camping area from Moon Point as well.
Yeah, we just crossed Coongule Creek at Coongule Point, which is interesting. We thought that wasn't possible, but it was. And now we're here at Moon Point. It has been a while since I've been here. And yeah, I don't know, Scotty wants to camp here, but doesn't look that crash hot, to be honest. And there is no real swimming here.
Moon Point is another beautiful west coast camping area with white sand and turquoise water. However, be mindful of the sandflies here. We are now at the entrance from Moon Point Road onto the beach. Unfortunately, you can't drive much further south, only a few hundred meters to reach the camps.
It's the iCheck TMPS. Pretty handy now also to see how the new Kendar tires go, because I'm driving now 70-80 here on the sand on 19 and 18 psi in the back, and the beauty is that it also tells me the temperature, so I can see that I'm at 25 degrees here, which is very good, so the tires do not get excessively hot when running at low temps.
I've been putting the new Kendar KR629 M tires to the test recently. I chose these because I wanted to try something cheaper than the BFG KM3, which I really liked. Given the current situation with DCS, I couldn't justify spending an extra $1,000, so I was keen to see how a tire like the Kendar would hold up. They were recommended by a friend, thanks Dave, and after doing some more research, since I've never heard of the brand before, I found no red flags. You don't know if you don't try. I know many of you were interested in how these tires performed, as I received several questions about them. So far, I'm very happy. They are slightly louder on the road than the KM3, and I feel like they have a little softer sidewall, however, nothing to worry about. I've tested them in mud and off-road on our New England Tablelands trip, and they performed well. I also driven them on-road as well as rainy roads without any issues. They had a good grip and feel. On this trip I've also driven quite a bit on sand at low tire pressure, and so far I'm pleased with their performance, especially for the price. When we returned back to camp, we saw a dingo rummaging through all the different camps where the people were away for the day. It just shows again how important it is to really pack all food very securely in boxes like they did, and do not let rubbish bins hang around, because even if they are a bit higher up, the dingoes certainly get to them.
That's what not to do.
Once more I was glad to have induction cooking with me, as westerly had picked up even more, and to be honest at that stage became reasonably unpleasant. So cooking with gas would have been very difficult in the wind, even with the car as a windbreak, and yeah, with induction cooking no issue with that.
Around 6:30. Scotty is gone. We went pretty early to bed at 8 o'clock, and Scotty was supposed to leave in the morning, but then he woke me up at, I don't know what time it was, probably not that late, 9 or 10 I guess, and said, oh, he's going now, or because he wanted to go along the beach and cross Coongule Creek, so he must have left sometime at low tide, whenever there was in the middle of the night. So he's gone, and yeah, we're gonna head inland a bit, because it did blow a gale the whole night, I have to say. It was pretty damn windy.
Look at this, got to secure everything from the dingoes. They didn't get in here. Mind you, there's also no food in there, just empty bags. He just came over, he needs a booster, he can't start the car. So NOCO goes to the rescue. We're now heading down the old Bullocks Road. I remember driving all these tracks here a few years ago, and it was super overgrown, but not anymore. So they must receive a fair bit more traffic nowadays. Mind you, as you can hear, they are pretty corrugated. We made our way to Sandy Point, which is another beautiful spot, but really infested with sandflies and mosquitoes. You also can't camp there. Right now we're at the north-facing tidal lagoon, but you can take a short stroll to the south-facing Great Sandy Strait, with a little island in front of it. If this doesn't look like paradise, I don't know. But even that short walk on the beach had us hammered by sandflies and mosquitoes. But there are tons of sandflies here everywhere. So getting eaten alive. I'm gonna get out of here, Kerry. Tire pressure wise on the Kendar, I'm running now 18 in the rear, 18 psi, 15 psi in the front. Tire temperature now after an hour driving, but not fast driving, is 26 all around. Actually front right is always a little bit lower, and I know that thanks to the iCheck TMPS system, the tire pressure monitoring system, which I do really like. They provided me that free of charge for testing purposes, and while I won't do a dedicated review about it, I really like it and I will continue using it. It's very thought through. I haven't had too much experience with TMPS systems. I think I had two in the past. The last one was a cheap eBay one, and I used it on one desert trip, but yeah, it wasn't ideal. I liked the idea of seeing the pressure and so on, but what I didn't like, that one didn't deal very well with pressures below 15 psi, which with the iCheck TPMS is no issue, and needed often manual adjustment for the alarms and the likes, and that is also all completely gone with the iCheck TPMS. What is still cumbersome is changing pressures, because you have to, the iCheck TPMS has actually a sleeve over it, which is good, so it protects the whole system. You have to peel that back, you have to unscrew the monitor. To use the iCheck TPMS air downs, like the storm deflators, which have a quick connect, you also have to screw the grub screw in all the way, or actually you have to take it off. And the same is for airing up. So it does add some extra time for airing down, airing up, and that is annoying. But I don't think that's different than any tire pressure monitoring system, so unless you have an internal one. So that's how it is. You either, deal with it or not. And yeah, the system itself, very thought out. It comes with this kind of a sticky gel pad, so I have that on the dashboard here, and then you just stick the actual unit on top of it. It holds it very tight. The unit has solar, but without solar the batteries last for I think 2 weeks. Haven't tested that yet, but it certainly lasts for a few days, because I had it undercover in the driveway, and it's just very thought through. The display goes automatically off, it switches back on, it auto senses the pressure. So say you're on road pressure 40 psi, you start airing down, the alarm will go on, and as soon as you air down to your pressure, put the sensors back on, it will learn the new pressure, and then will only give an alarm if I think you have a 25% variance. That means you don't have to muck around setting new alarms, something I didn't like in my previous system. So far I can only recommend it, but we shall see. It's early days, that's the first trip. I keep on using it and I keep on updating you.
I found this old track here that I think goes to an old pier from memory. So I've driven there once before, so I'm gonna have a look. That is certainly the least driven track here, I shall say. At least on Fraser I've driven here. But let's see where that ends. Probably again a lot of sandflies. You never know if you never go. At some traffic, there's some tire tracks here. We're driving pretty much in the mangroves, in the swamp here, on a road built for logging on logs. So that's old logs underneath, and then I guess I put sand on top, and that goes out into the mangroves here to a water course where they then had a wharf and could load the logs.
Puthoo Creek on Fraser Island or Gary has an interesting history tied to the island's logging operations in the early 20th century. This area played a crucial role in the timber industry, which was a major economic activity for over a century. A significant piece of infrastructure at Puthoo Creek was a long jetty constructed to facilitate the loading of logs onto ships. This jetty extended into deep water, allowing larger vessels to dock and collect timber harvested from the island's forest. To transport logs from the inland forest to the coast, a network of tramways was established, connecting logging areas to Puthoo Creek. These tram lines were essential for moving timber efficiently across the island's challenging terrain. In fact, we drove into Puthoo Creek along what used to be one of these old tramway terraces. Logging on Fraser Island began in 1863, and by the end of the early 1900s it was well established. In 1905, a new light rail line was constructed to extract timber from the island's interior. The 1930s saw extensive use of tram lines to move logs to loading points like Puthoo Creek. However, by late 1991, logging on Fraser Island ceased as part of a broader shift towards conservation. In 1992, Fraser Island was listed as a World Heritage Area. Today, Puthoo Creek is beautiful, but not frequently visited. The one-way trek in is very overgrown and quite rough, with no chance to pass another car. Additionally, the concentration of sandflies and mosquitoes is crazy. Probably a reason why not many people make their way there. Still, it is an interesting piece of Fraser's history.
As you can see here, that would have been a big wharf. And the sandflies and mozzies are nuts here. Look at this. That all would have been an old pier. You can see here. See the logs here.
At some stage it becomes a Y intersection which goes to two different wharfs. One is southwest and one is northwest. This one is a southwest one.
Yeah, see, and here you see how that was all built. Logs, earth on top. And at high tide, that would have been another wharf here.
All the track logs from this trip are available to my Patreon supporters upon request. If you're interested in these track logs, please join me on Patreon and support the channel, and I will provide you the track logs.
Today really is an inland track day with a heavy gale force wind. Yeah, inland is the nicest at present. Taking the paths less traveled. And I think we're loosely making our way to Poston's logging camp now, so we shall see.
So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please keep in mind this is a self-funded channel, so I would greatly appreciate if you could help me out by sharing, liking and subscribing. And if you can, please consider head over to Patreon or buy me a coffee. And with the equivalent of a cup of coffee or two per month, you can really help me making these videos. Thanks a lot for watching and see you along the tracks.